Summary of King Leopold's Ghost by Adam Hochschild. In the ages after the discovery of the New World, the countries of Europe got very rich and strong. By conquering parts of the Americas, Australia, Asia, and Africa, Britain, Portugal, Spain, and France were able to get new land and resources. As a global power, Belgium was far behind its rivals. It was a small country in Europe that had only been around for a short time. King Leopold II of Belgium decided at the end of the 19th century that he wanted to make Belgium a big kingdom by buying land in Africa. Leopold was a smart and cruel man who didn't mind lying or killing to make Belgium more powerful. During the 1870s, Leopold cleverly built a reputation as a great philanthropist and humanitarian who wanted to bring Christianity and culture to Africa. In private, though, Leopold wanted to take control of the land around the Congo River in Africa and use it to make money for his country. Henry Morton Stanley was one of the most well-known researchers of the time, and Leopold wanted him to work for him in the Congo. In the late 1870s, Stanley was the first European to sail across the Congo River. Leopold got Stanley to come to Belgium and was able to get Stanley to work for him by praising and charming him. Stanley was born into a Welsh working-class family. He was a very anxious young man who wanted to be part of the European elite. Stanley decided to work for Leopold for 5 years to develop and build infrastructure in the Congo. He did this because he thought it would help him get known as an English gentleman as well as a great traveler. On Leopold's orders, Stanley tricked Congolese chiefs, most of whom had never seen writing before, into signing papers that gave all of their land to Leopold forever. While Stanley worked to develop land in the Congo for Leopold, Leopold continued to give awards and host parties for charitable causes, making sure that European leaders liked him. At the same time, Leopold made sure that the U.S. government officially recognized Leopold's land interests in the Congo. Henry Shelton Sanford, a former American ambassador to Belgium, and Senator John Tyler Morgan, a white supremacist who wanted to send black Americans back to Africa, helped him convince the American government to accept Belgium's position in the Congo. Partly because American politicians thought that the Congo could be a place for African Americans to live in the future, the U.S. government officially recognized the Congo as a Belgian territory. This set off a domino effect in which all of the major European powers had to acknowledge Belgium's presence in the Congo. Leopold started to develop his land after making sure he had enough land. He controlled the Congolese people by shockingly cruel means. He also told the Belgians in charge of the Congo to force Africans to work as ivory hunters, carriers, and rubber harvesters. The work was hard, and the Belgian Congo's official army, the Force Publique, killed anyone who tried to rebel or slack off. In the 1880s and 1890s, many Westerners went to the Congo, but only a few spoke out about the terrible things they saw there. A black preacher named George Washington Williams went to the Congo to look into the idea of moving black people there. When he got back, he wrote a number of articles that were very harsh on the brutality of the Force Publique. Williams, however, died of cancer soon after writing his pieces, which made them less useful. Also, Leopold's character as a generous person was so strong in the United States and Europe that most people didn't pay attention to the complaints. During the time that the Belgians ruled the Congo, African groups often fought back against their cruel masters. Even though there were many rebellions, the Force Publique had a huge technological edge, and Belgian troops killed tens of thousands of Africans who were fighting for their freedom. One of the most famous books ever written, Heart of Darkness, was based on how cruel the Belgian government was in the Congo. Conrad worked in the Congo for a few years, and Mr. Kurtz may be based on a real-life Force Publique captain who was said to collect the heads of the African people he killed. In the middle of the 1890s, people started paying more attention to the fact that human rights were being broken in the Congo. A man named Edmond Dean Morel, who worked for a shipping business, realized that, despite what Leopold said, the Congo must depend on slave labor because there was no other way to explain why there were more goods coming in than going out. Morel was a tough opponent for Leopold because, like Leopold, he was a master of getting attention. Morel started a newspaper in which he attacked Leopold for being cruel in the Congo. He also put together a large collection of stories from people who saw Belgians doing bad things. Roger Casement, an Irish government worker, was one of Morel's friends. Casement also wrote many papers criticizing how Africans were treated in the Congo. Even though Casement and Morel were liberal Europeans of the time, they were shocked by how the Belgians treated the Congolese. However, they didn't seem to disagree with the idea that, in general, European countries had the right to colonize other countries and claim the land as their own. It seems that Morel was condescending and patronizing toward African people, even though he spent his whole adult life trying to keep them from being exploited. Leopold was in his 70s at the start of the 20th century. Even though he worked hard to keep the press from talking about the Congo, Morel and Casement were too strong for him. By 1905, Leopold's rule was being criticized around the world. Leopold died soon afterward, leaving his colonies to the Belgian government. Over time, the Belgian government revealed changes to human rights in the Congo. This made many people think that the Congo question was over for good. Even though Morel and Casement did a lot, the sad truth is that they didn't solve the problems of Western dominance anywhere, not in the Congo and not anywhere else. For example, the Belgians in charge of the Congo continued to force Africans to work in mines to get materials. Also, the way the Belgians treated the Congolese was horrible, but it wasn't that different from how other European colonialists treated native people in their own countries. The European powers came together to criticize Belgium, not only because Belgium was acting in an unethical way, but also because it was an easy target. The effects of dominance are still felt in the Congo today. Joseph Mobutu, a tyrant backed by the US who killed hundreds of thousands of his own people, was in charge of the Congolese for most of the 20th century. And, just like when Leopold was in charge, billions of dollars worth of Congolese metal and rubber are still leaving the country and going to companies in the West. The Congo reform movement was a success for human rights activists in many ways, but in other ways, not much has changed in the 100 years since it ended.
About the author. Adam Hochschild was born and raised in New York City. In the early 1960s, he went to Harvard to study history and literature. Right after he graduated, he worked with civil rights activists in Mississippi. Later, he worked with writers who were against the government in South Africa. He helped start the important progressive magazine Mother Jones in the middle of the 1970s. Hochschild's first book, Half the Way Home, a memoir of father and son, came out in 1986. Since then, he has written a number of popular nonfiction books about human rights issues such as Joseph Stalin's impact, the Boer War in South Africa, how the British Empire supported slavery, and the Vietnam War. When it came out in 1998, King Leopold's Ghost was one of his most well-known stories.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.